Hi, I'm Adam McCabe, former Sergeant of the United States Marine Corps and co-founder of Purple Star Veterans and Families. We are here at GrassRoots Community TV Studio in the lovely Aspen, Colorado. Today's date is June 12th, 2013, and we will be interviewing Gary Lee Bascom, born December 4th, 1958. Gary, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Also, the amazing people supporting us in this interview today is going to be the director, Rise Pansis, and the camera operator, Brad Silver. We are working for and with the Aspen Historical Society and the Library of Congress. Gary, again, welcome. So, I just want to start off kind of from the beginning a little bit. I want to learn about your experience, what led you to decide you wanted to join the military, when you joined the military. So tell me where you were 16, 17 years old and thinking about this decision. Where was your mindset at?
Well, I was actually working for my uncle on his farm. I had quit high school and was working there. I also had a job working at a grocery store back in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I got a postcard in the mail and I sent it back in. Next thing I know, the recruiter was calling me up. And so he's working on me to join and go to the Marine Corps. And I didn't know much about it. And so we started talking, and next thing I know, he's signing me up. He took me in, made me get my GED, so that you had to be a high school graduate even to join. And I was only 17. My mom signed the papers so that I could go. And so I was doing okay, but I didn't have any direction really.
Sure.
And so I went into boot camp, and
16, 17 years old, most of us don't have a whole lot of direction. What year was this, Gary?
That was in 1976.
So the draft had ended at this point. This was complete.
It was like about a year after the last incident in Vietnam. And of course,
so this was completely voluntary.
Oh yeah, it was volunteer at the time, and so I joined.
Did you take a chance to look at some of the other branches? Did the Marine recruiter come in and sweep you off to your feet and say, this is the branch for you?
I never thought about it. I had some uncles that were in other branches. I had one in the Air Force, one in the Army. And so I never really thought about any different when the recruiter called. I just said, this is where I'm going to go. And I had a lot of people say I needed it. Yep. And of course we all did. Yep. And so it was actually good. It was a big step to do something.
It's a huge commitment. It's one where you sign a piece of paper and you really don't know what all the details are that are going to follow. Yeah. And that's a scary thing for 16, 17 years old. And so how old were you when you actually left for boot camp?
I was 17. And it didn't take the recruiter long to get me in. Yeah. He probably about, I'd say, a month and a half maybe from the time he first talked to me. And then I was off to boot camp, and that was in October.
Were you east, west coast?
I was in Iowa, so I was west of the Mississippi. Yep. But when I was at the AFI station, where they take all the guys, getting ready to go off to boot camp, they were looking for 3 people to go to Parris Island for the Marine boot camp. And of course I didn't know what it was about, so
you just happened to be one of the
there
lucky
I go.
3.
And it was, it was an experience. And
was boot camp as challenging as you thought it might be going into it?
Yeah, it is tough. It really is tough. Physically, it's not as hard as you think, because they do start you off kind of easy, and if you're in any kind of regular shape, you're going to make it through. Right. It's a little bit tougher mentally, because it is a whole different lifestyle. Yep. From the time you get on the bus at the airport to the time you get off that bus and you're stepping on the yellow footprints, and you are
It's
theirs.
a stark and often rude realization
Yes, it
once
is.
you get there.
Yes.
Tell me about your drill instructors. Did you have a lot of respect for them? Did you
Oh,
have
yeah.
some fear for them?
You have every feeling for these drill instructors, and each of them, what I found out over time is they all have a role to play. One of them is like your dumb younger brother. Okay, one of them is the meanest man you ever heard or saw in your life, and you feared him. One was your senior drill instructor,
Dad.
who was either the most severe or the kindest.
Yeah.
And you always had, and the one that was always seemed like had a lot of combat experience and was a vet that you looked up to a lot.
right.
And so I had each of those, and very similar to, when you see Full Metal Jacket.
Right.
That's as close a depiction to boot camp, except for the end scene
Right.
of that. It's very similar to that.
And it's challenging. At least it was for me on on every level. Physically it got tougher and tougher, and I had to overcome other fears like the obstacle course and learning how to operate with DIs screaming at you. I mean, it's a difficult experience, and one that I don't regret. I look back on it now, and it was a completely incredible and interesting experience.
It was, and you get to the point as a unit, when you graduate, you have outgrown your drill instructors.
Right.
They can barely handle you as a unit because you're such a tight group that if they took you out at that moment, you would be one machine. And it was good to do that and learn to do that when you were put in other places with other units.
Do you think it's intentional that they do it that way? They make you learn to work so well together as a group. Oftentimes by one person screwing up, it punishes everybody, so that it really builds in that cohesiveness.
Right, it's a team effort, and of course the Marine Corps is all about that.
That's right.
And it's what they put you through to get to that point. It works, and it should. That's what the Marine Corps is about. They're not there to be any kind of other successful company. They have a mission, and they have a way of going about getting that mission and accomplishing it. And the only way to do that is to have your unit work as one.
That's right.
And support each other.
There's a method behind the madness,
Yes,
if you
there
will.
is.
Gary, is this a picture of your graduating MCRD Parris Island?
Yes. That was in January of '77. And that was a rough 3 months in South Carolina. I'd never been there before, and I spent my 18th birthday in boot camp, the 201st Marine Corps birthday,
Wow.
Christmas. We missed the Super Bowl because we were out doing PT behind the rifle butts that day, which, we're out PT, we're out there doing physical training instead of watching the Super Bowl.
Yep, that's right.
And then we graduated, which was awesome because my mom and my grandma came down from Iowa to watch me graduate.
That's incredible.
And it's nice when they come.
It's an accomplishment for the whole family to have a son or daughter take on such a challenge, such as boot camp, and come through it with success. I'm looking here at some of your drill instructors, and they look as mean as mine did when I went through.
They were good people though.
Yeah.
They did their job very well, and it was a lot of fun when we graduated. One of my drill instructors that we had, a very stern guy, used to be in the Silent Guard in DC, and he was from Iowa, and then found out I was from Iowa. He was about 6'5", and he was over in Nam. He was decorated as could be. While we were in boot camp, he was actually made a ward officer.
Wow.
So, and the ward officers, of course, you have the most respect for those guys. They worked their way through the ranks to become an officer, and those guys were something special, and I knew that with him. And he used to sometimes just give me a hard time just because I was from Iowa. And every once in a while he'd catch me alone, and he would say that, you know, or I'd get a little wink from him, and he, you know, it's kind of a thing between us, even though he still did his job as drill instructor.
He pushed you and inspired you to be better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those are qualities of a good leader.
Yeah, yeah, very good. I respected every one of them. They were something special, and I don't know how long those guys go to be drill instructors because it's a pretty intense job. But you know, it's tough, and you learn to respect them.
Yep, I did.
Yeah,
I certainly did. So I'm in hearing you talk about your boot camp, I'm also thinking about mine, and I remember that first day getting dropped in, yellow boots, and oftentimes referred to as Black Friday when you get dropped to your platoon. What were some of your initial feelings when DIs light up, start going crazy? Did the thought, what did I get myself into, ever cross your mind?
Yeah, it did, because we were probably getting there a little bit earlier than some of the other platoons that were training at the same time. So we were in what they call forming for about a week and a half. So your training time doesn't start until everybody gets there.
Right.
So we're in forming, and everywhere you go, you're going as a group because you haven't learned to march yet. So they would just say, move forward, mob. Okay, they would start right off the bat, making you feel this big. Yeah. And you know, you've got 19-year-old guys, you know, and they're hiding in the shower if they can sneak a cigarette. And of course, we weren't allowed to smoke. Right. You know, they took away cigarettes and everything first couple of weeks. You didn't get anything at all. So it was...
How interesting, though, what you say. And they started off making us feel this small. And a few minutes ago, you talked about how big and tight and cohesive the unit was before you left, how they tend to break you down and rebuild you in a specific mold, if you will, to do what we do.
But it's about confidence. It's building your confidence from the ground up. So they put everyone at the same base, and then they build everybody up. And we're all equals. You know, it didn't matter what you were, because being from Iowa, I didn't have a lot of guys, different guys that I hung around with. You know, mostly guys from all right there. Our platoon was probably a third white, a third Hispanic, and a third black. And we were all equals.
And growing up in a small town in Iowa, were you...
Never had that at all back home. But it wasn't a problem for us there.
Right.
We were all the same, which was good. You know, and that, if boot camp works for you right, you go through the rest of your life feeling that way too, probably, and as it should.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah.
So we graduate boot camp, which is a feat on its own. Not everybody does that.
No.
Do you know how many people you started off your boot camp cycle with?
I think when we started our platoon, we had 82, I think, when we first started, which is, you know, that's a pretty big number of guys.
It is.
And then as you go through each phase, okay, you'll drop guys because they don't pass the test. Yep. And then you'll pick up others from others that are ready to move on. Right. And I think when we graduated here, we had 48 at the end, of which about maybe 30 or 35 of us were from the original group that we started with.
So that's over 40 and almost 50%.
Yeah, you lose.
Changeover.
Yeah, you lose about 50% on the way through, for various reasons. You know, some guys
get hurt.
Yeah, they get hurt. You know, and then some guys had criminal backgrounds and got caught. You know, some just can't pass the test, whether it's physical or whether it's the written test, and they would get dropped until they could, you know, join up with another group and go through it again.
So, I believe this is you here, Gary. And when you graduated boot camp, were you were finally a United States Marine? Were you a private in the United States Marine?
Yeah.
And so you left boot camp as a private, and you went where?
I went. Well, after that, you know, I got leave. Okay, so you go home for a few days. My recruiter got me to stay a little bit longer to help him recruit more, get more in there. And then I went to a place called Camp Johnson, which is just outside of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And that's where I went to baking school of
Baking school.
which was, you know, of all things you wouldn't think in the Marine Corps they would have that, but back then we actually had specialties like that. And now they're more generic now, where they're not so specialized. But that's what I did, and then I was stationed at Camp Lejeune after that.
And the thought process, at least from my understanding, and please tell me more, is so that the Marines could be a completely self-sustaining deployed force.
With everything.
So we could completely take care. We need food, we need chow,
Right.
we need supplies, we need people to
Right.
to take care of all of that.
Yeah, so we would go anywhere. We could go anywhere with our units and, you know, sustain ourselves. You know, no matter what, we'd have our stuff to do, but you were always stationed with other companies. So we were always with other groups. We weren't just like the cooks and the bakers.
Right.
We were always with other groups, so that you were always, wherever they went, you went. So if you were with the anti-tank weapons,
Right.
if you were with the Amtracs, when they went out to play in the woods, that's where you went.
You went and played with them.
Yeah, when you hit the beach, you hit the beach with them.
Wow.
You know, and we always, whenever we hit the beach, it was always on the Mike boats.
And the truth is, you know, what the Marine Corps is famous for is every Marine is a rifleman.
Yep.
Whether a secondary job is baking or a variety of other
Yeah, whether
things
you're
that
a clerk or
are in
even
the critical
foreman.
support role. I mean, it takes all of these jobs to get the overall job done.
Right.
But the backbone is every one of them is a wonderful marksman.
Yeah. And that was always fun. You know, the Marines are a good experience. I don't recommend it to people because I think you have to want to do it yourself. I don't think it's something you can tell someone to do. You have to feel it for yourself.
So what was your MOS then? The military occupation skill. What did it fall under?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Is it-
You know, it was baking. I was a 3311.
3311.
That was it. And, you know, so we learned to bake, we learned to cook, we did everything else. You know, we'd go out and, you know, wherever the troops went that we were with at the time. So I spent a lot of time doing exercises.
Sure.
And going on a lot of places, going on cruises with them, and, you know, which is, you can't beat that experience. You know, a lot of people might dread it, but going out and seeing places like that when you're young, it's an experience.
It is, and I do want to get more into that. But I want to hear more about, you know, you go home on leave, you stay, you come back, you're going to your advanced school now.
Right.
How long is a school like that? I mean, do they train you well?
Yeah,
I know the Marine Corps to do stuff. They're pretty thorough on things.
Very thorough. I mean, it was, you know, you live it, of course. We're on base. The school itself was 3 months, and, you know, very intense. And then you're assigned to another place after that. And we learned to be very good at what we did. We had excellent instructors, and we considered ourselves, because we learned that baking is a science where you're just mixing things together and
Right.
coming up with things. Well, we were all mad scientists. So, you know, we got to be very good at what we did, and you take pride in what you do, no matter what it is, especially in the Marine Corps. Every job, everybody took pride in. And so it was a lot of fun, really. And we had our own little camp, and I forget what other schools were there. It wasn't just us or other things. There was a small little camp.
Sure. But my guess would be the other Marines that you're going through training with is who you spend the majority of your time
Yes.
with. Yeah.
Yep, live in the barracks.
Yep.
You know, and which is different. We didn't have, you know, fancy rooms and what we called the Howard Johnsons, almost like apartments. We never had those. It was always, you know, Quonset huts or maybe an old brick building if we were lucky.
And certainly, you know, there's phases. In boot camp, you have no freedom whatsoever for the most part.
Right.
Now that you're a United States Marine, you're a private now, you are living in the barracks on base. So you have a little bit more freedom. Are you getting any time on the weekends?
Well, yeah, you can actually. You get a lot of time. You know, at night, you're busy all during the day,
Right.
and sometimes, you know, you don't punch the clock. Sometimes there's overtime involved, and you do get some time to yourself. You know, and of course you're always homesick. I was just home, so, you know, my mom's telephone bills were pretty high because I was always calling collect and Till one time she actually told me, "Don't call so often."
And why do you think it was you were calling so much? You just needed that peace, that home?
Yeah, you know, I'd been there. It's the first time being away from home.
Yep, at 18 years old, I guess.
Yeah,
at this
I was
point.
18 then, and you know, so I spent a lot of time on the base, not really going off the base a whole lot. When I did, it was usually maybe down to the USO, the Liberty. And so I didn't spend a lot of time on the downtown or the Liberty part like a lot of guys did because I didn't know about it.
Right.
But I knew where the USO was, so
Yeah.
we'd go there and, you know, you could play pool or do something else, which was a good outlet at the time. Then we go back to base, and then as we got more experience in our camp, sometimes our instructors would take us different places. So we would go on road trips on weekends sometimes, like to Washington, D.C., or to some of the beaches up a little bit more north of where we were, North Carolina. So they would get us out and around and kind of, so they would know that we would experience things because we were still young and inexperienced.
Yep.
And we didn't know our way around, and we didn't want to get in trouble. We weren't, you know, we weren't looking for it.
Right.
We didn't want to. And they knew that we kind of just wanted to enjoy things. And we had a group of guys that were that way. We were never troublemakers. It was kind of nice to have a whole group like that and to have instructors that would help you like that.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
So going through Baker School, it's time to get orders cut. At least when I finished up my advanced school, it was, okay, where am I going to end up?
Yeah.
Did you have places that you wanted to go?
Not really. I was willing to go wherever they wanted to send me.
Open-minded.
I was open-minded. When I went in open contract. You know, I didn't have anything set. They could have sent me to do whatever they wanted me to be, and that's what they wanted me to be. And so I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, which was right down the road about 5 miles.
Yep.
So I didn't have far to go.
That's which is fortunate when it comes to packing stuff and dragging it across country.
Yeah.
So you ended up just down the road, Camp Lejeune.
Right.
You got stationed with who?
I was with Headquarters Company, 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines.
Right, 1, 2.
Yep, old 1, 2, and they were good, and it was a lot of fun, really, right there on base. And we were in old barracks, and we had a gunnery sergeant that looked like I think he was from World War I. I mean, he was old looking.
Old school.
Old school, you know, and he was kind of neat.
Might have carried around one of those swagger sticks we seen the colonel with earlier.
He looked like it. He was kind of a neat guy, you know, and we had a lot of experienced guys there. And this was not long after Vietnam, so there were a lot of experienced people still around at that time. And we were in our barracks, actually, we had the snipers, the 106s that later I think turned into the TOWs, and the anti-tanks,
52s,
and the Dragons.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a lot of fun. Plus all the admin, corpsmen, you know.
So, what's the dynamic in the town outside of Camp Lejeune? You know, folks are coming back from Vietnam. You know, it's been well documented how disrespected they were. You know, was there still some of that lingering outside of the base? Where, I mean, was that a real thing that you guys had to see as well?
No, not really. I think Jacksonville, they knew that the Marines gave them their money. That's how they made their money, was from the Marines. And I never saw any bad things because of it. I mean, there was never any protests or any cussing at Marines, you know, except for when they, you know, did bad things wrong outside of town, like anyone would. Any Liberty town, you know, has their guys that cause trouble in some way. But normally I think the people around Jacksonville appreciated the Marine Corps.
It's the driving economic force in these military towns.
Right.
I mean, it's from, you know, shops that press and clean clothes and shine. I mean, you name it. It's the economic driving force in those areas.
Yeah, and I think it stretched all the way from like Camp Lejeune, and then in the middle of the state, you had Fort Bragg. So all the way from in between there, you know, was a lot of military, and I think they knew and appreciated, you know, what those bases did for their economy at the time. So, because it was tough. This was not long after Of course, you're too young to know about like the oil embargo and gas shortages
Right.
back in the mid 70s. And so, you know, it was a little bit different. The economy was hard back then, almost like it is today. It was real tough, you know, hard for people to find, you know, work, and you know, people were worried about things. So, and it's weird. Here it is, 30, 40 years later, in almost the same situation.
Still struggling for some of us, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you end up at Camp Lejeune. Did some of the guys that you went through the 3311 training with, the bakery training with, did they end up moving over to Lejeune too? Did you already know some folks there when you went in?
No, I didn't know any of them there at all. I think I was the only one out of our group that went there. So, you know, I went in with a whole bunch of strangers, didn't know what it was like, kind of thrown to the wolves, because
Sure.
here I am, a young, naive 18-year-old boy from Iowa.
Yep.
You know, never been exposed to those things. And so it was a pretty big awakening. And
Sure.
when you're thrown out into the fleet,
Yep.
it's quite different.
Yes, it is.
And so you learn, and getting into an old brick barracks, you know, I knew I was with the old Corps,
Yep.
which was actually kind of nice, and it was good. And I happened to meet, of all things, a couple of guys that I went to junior high school with,
No kidding.
and didn't know that they were in the Marines and on that base. And I was actually in my barracks one day, and I looked over to the next barracks, which was maybe a couple hundred feet away, and in the window, I recognized the guy that I went to school with.
What a trip.
And I even went to school with him when I was in second grade.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
It's an even smaller Corps.
It is.
The few and the proud.
Yeah.
I actually had the same experience. A guy I went to high school with, I get dropped into the fleet, and I bump into him at the chow hall one day.
Yeah.
And say, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
It is. It's a very small Corps.
Yeah, and then we met another of the guys that, you know, we went to school with in junior high, on football team and stuff.
Wow.
And we were over at the bus station, which is only about a block away from where
Wow.
our barracks was, and ran into him. It's unbelievable, you know, three of us right there. So, and it was kind of nice. And that was, I'd say, within the first few months I was at Lejeune. So while I was there, I knew these guys.
That helped get you settled in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And the one thing that we all have in common are being United States Marines. And, you know, it is different when you get dropped in the fleet and senior Marines and, you know, kind of where you fit into the totem pole and doing time and experience. But we all have that.
Yep.
We all have that.
Yeah, and it's...
So how long were you in the Fleet Marine Corps before you did your first float or your first cruise?
Let's see. We got there, let's see, January, February. I'd say I was there within 2 months. We were out and on the boat, and our first thing was actually when we went down, we sat off the coast of Panama.
And I'm sorry to backtrack real quickly, but for our viewers that don't know what a float is or a cruise is, do you just want to give a quick overview of that?
That's where you just, you know, you get all your equipment, you're loading everybody up, all your equipment and everything, you're getting on the ship, and you're going to wherever they tell you you're going. You know, a lot of times we didn't know where we were headed at first. You know, we didn't need to know, you know.
Right.
And then we sat down just with a small group, I'd say probably less than 30 or 40 ships, off the coast of Panama. And that was back when they were negotiating giving away the canal. And we weren't sure what was going to happen. And they went, I guess they got everything worked out. We never hit the beach. We just turned around and went back after about 4 or 5 days. So that was the first time. And of course I was sick as a dog. First time on a ship ever in my life. And I was
Takes a little getting used to, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's hard. I was on a LST, okay, flat bottom boat, what they call a gator baiter, okay, because it could drive up to like a dock that the Seabees would build, and you know, a big old tongue would come sticking out the front of the ship where they would drive Jeeps or something else like that off of. But we would always carry like bike boats and Amtraks in the bottom hollow hull of the ship. And so we were out there, and we were taking like 55-degree rolls.
Wow.
And I was sick as could be. And that was hard.
Did you eventually get used to that?
Yeah, but they didn't help you at all. You
No.
know, no, they're not going to help you. There's no Dramamine out there,
No.
okay? You're going to do your job whether you're sick or not, and you're just going to have to live through it. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Anybody ever roll out of their bunks at time?
Yeah, you could feel the rolling.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, you could
Big
feel the
time.
rolling, you know, and then we were like right next to the hollow center, so we would hear all these things banging against the walls on the inside.
I don't know if you experienced it, but for me it was like kind of traveling back in time a little bit, because I'd seen these old videos of what ship life was like, and you know, when I went on it, still didn't seem to be that much different.
No, I mean, it was always the
when
same.
you're on a big ship out in the middle of nowhere, you're in a big ship out in the middle
That's
of nowhere.
it, yeah, you are, and it's very different, and you're kind of, the first time or two, you're kind of really unsure of what to do and what you can do at all, you know, because you're traveling along, you got a job still you got to do,
Right.
you know, no matter what it is, and you know, you're unsure, and here I am watching these Navy guys. They're out off the fantail. They're out fishing for shark and stuff, and you're just going, wow, this is, you know, very different, very, very different. But it was a lot of fun.
So was Panama your first cruise or your first float?
Yeah, and that was just down and back, and then we would go on cruises. Otherwise, like
A lot of tension throughout the ship and not knowing.
that time, yeah, that was we were unsure, you know, what we were going to be doing. And they would tell you if you got ready, they would kind of had you lined out on which wave you were going to be on when they started sending people in, okay? And of course you didn't know, because you'd go on bigger cruises later where you might have 60 ships in a group, you know, and you're all going out, and then sometimes you're splitting off into different places from there. And you would find out when you're going to hit the beach, because they would tell you what wave you're going to be on, how soon that was going to be. And we always went by Mike boat, which was fun. I mean, to and from the ship every time. I never walked on the gangplank ever. It was always on the Mike boat. You hit the beach, and of course these Navy guys, they never drive to the beach. Okay, they're dropping you off 100 yards out.
That's right.
You know, and I'm a short guy. Okay. So you know, it wasn't easy. Never easy.
At that point when you were, and I ask this because I had some personal experience with it, when the tension came up, when things got a little stressful, I started getting a little superstitious on things I would do for good luck. Did you have anything like that you would do for?
Well, I just had certain things a certain way when I was going to go. Okay, every time we went, everything is lined up the same, so you always know where it's at, and then you've got it handy. You know, and sometimes you're next to the same people all the time because you can trust them. And you know, that was, I guess that was our superstition. Everything was the same.
Ritual,
yeah, and you just get used to that, and there's really no organizing it. It's just that's the way it was going to be. And some guys get a little cranky if they weren't.
We're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
Let's get back to what we know. So, from your time at Camp Lejeune, calling mom, you know, how was when you're out on float or cruise? Are you able to keep in touch with your family? What's that?
Yeah, not when you're out. When we're out, we didn't have any way unless we went somewhere that might possibly have a USO where you could use a phone.
Sure.
But most times, no. By then, after that, there was a lot less contact with it because I was building my own life at the time, away from home, finally spreading my wings a little bit.
Were they doing mail dumps on ship?
Yeah, you could get mail and send it out at the same time. That was never...
How frequent was that? They do pretty well with that?
Every 3 to 5 days, maybe, you'd get mail call, you know.
And you did three cruises, 3 tours?
Yeah.
What was the longest one out at a time?
I think the longest we ever did was about 2 months we were gone at one time.
2 months on ship.
Oh, it was a lot of fun, You know, we took off. The ships come down and picked us up out of Norfolk. And then we took off. We had to refuel down at Guantanamo Bay. We couldn't get off the ships there. Just pull in. They were getting fuel or something. Then we all get back out, and you could see all these other ships out on the horizon around you too. So we knew we were with a big group. You know, we heard it was about 60 of them.
Wow.
And then we would all kind of split off and go to different places. And one of the places we went was down, they called it Blue Beach, which is south side of Puerto Rico, near Roosevelt Roads. And we played down there on that beach for about 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
Which was like, it was like a holiday, really. I mean, we hit the beach, yeah, you know, like we normally do. And then we set up our mess hall. Okay, so you establish all your stuff, you know, you get in, make your perimeter,
Sure.
you know, make your advance and all that stuff. And then after that, when they get all the supplies in, then we go to each of our separate jobs after that. So we're sitting down there and we're on a mess hall, and I'm night cook. I'm setting everything up for the morning, you know, when I get there. So it was a lot of fun, you know, I kind of liked it. I had my own time. Get all the stoves ready in the morning, you know, making all the pancake batter and bacon and all that stuff, getting it ready. So I had the whole day to go down, walk along the beach, have fun, and watch all the jets come in right across the top of the ocean, come up through this little canyon and, you know, drop. Nothing. I mean, it's just, it's
Stuff
weird.
that you don't experience unless
No.
you're in the military, and it's
Yeah.
it's awe-inspiring to be at ship in the middle of nowhere and to see, you know, the ground to air.
Yeah, and to watch it like I'm on holiday, you know.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It really, really is. I remember trying to make a phone call to my mom one time, and I had to ask her to hang on because Gila was flying so close to us. She just said, "What's going on?" I said, "You're gonna have to give me just a minute."
Yeah.
But it's interesting stuff that doesn't happen in most of our everyday lives.
It's very different like that. I mean, I had a lot of respect for, you know, those pilots, and then they would come to our chow hall. You know, they got their jumpsuits on, you know, and you say, that was neat to watch. You know, that was really cool. And they're having a good time doing it. You know, which was a lot of fun, and you like that. I remember being out in the woods one time at Lejeune, and you know, we're out there playing, and we're doing our little groups, you know, out there trying to ambush somebody else, and we get out and we come around this little clearing. It's an old airfield out there where we're out playing, so they got old runways, and you know, that are overgrown now, but it was pretty neat. And we get out there, we come out to this clearing, and right around from the trees comes this Apache helicopter, aimed right at us. And you could just imagine we were done. You know, it gives you a lot of respect for, you know, doing that. And you're sitting there going, we think we're the best, and here this guy is. Like that.
Those pilots are a breed of their
They
own
are.
right there.
They are something else. It's pretty neat.
So I have a picture here of a young, private first class at this point?
Private. That was in boot camp when they put the little monkey suit on you. I don't know if they had you do that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
This is a little monkey suit. It's just a false front jacket, you know. And of course, you're not allowed to smile.
No,
You gotta be
look mean.
serious. Yeah, you gotta be serious. And of
And
course,
that's a standard USMC issue.
black glasses. Yeah.
Did you guys have a nickname for those?
No, they were just no. We hated them. No, they were no good. And so we had that, and we had a hat that fit. And this was, you know, getting pretty close to the end before you got these pictures taken. They wanted to make sure you were going to make it through boot camp before they waste their time taking their picture of you.
And then I want to show another pic here of, we were talking about, I don't know if we can zoom in on this, but here's you and a bunch of other devil dogs having a good time on leave.
Yeah, this was up at a little resort up toward the northern training area in Okinawa. And our staff sergeant got a bus and took us all up there. And of course, this is our staff sergeant who's in charge of our little platoon. And he takes us all up there, and we're having a good time. First time we'd all been away, you know, off base for quite a few months. And so it's kind of, this little resort is, I guess, where some of the platoons get to go, and you get to kind of hang out and have a good time and kind of let loose for a weekend. And, You know, it was quite an experience. It was probably about 20, 30 miles north of our base where we were. We were about probably midway in Okinawa at Camp Schwab. And so when we went up there, we had a good weekend, and that was quite an experience.
I'm always amazed at the camaraderie of the Marine Corps, and often it's talked about how it's forged in battle, but I think so many times it's in the hard stuff, it's in the easy stuff, it's being together and knowing that you're supported and trusted, and then you can support and trust the guy.
Right, it's just like you and I. We know we went through the same thing, and that's our bond.
That's right.
You know, you can't, if someone hasn't gone through that, they can't, they just don't understand that. And it's something, because it's a commitment, and it's not just for this time, it's for the rest of your life.
That's right. Semper Fi.
Yeah, that's right. It's the way it is in our life. And all Marines, I'm sure, feel that way. And they should. If they don't, they shouldn't be Marines.
All the Marines I know do.
Yeah.
So moving forward just a little bit, Gary, you know, when you're on ship, a little tougher to keep in touch with the family, but you're able to do so through snail mail. You know, you got some leave, and what did typical leave time look like? Did you guys get 24-hour libo? Were you able to take a weekend off?
Yeah, you could get like a 96.
Nice.
You know, get a 4-day weekend, go somewhere. You didn't get it often, you know, but it was kind of nice. Like, say, sometimes if our staff sergeant wanted to take us up to Washington, we'd all pile in his station wagon. You know, it'd be a few of us, maybe 5 or 6, you know, and go off for a long weekend, which was kind of nice. And otherwise, I would take most of my leave and save it and take it like in 10-day increments and go back to Iowa. And usually I'd find maybe someone I would drop. Either someone lived back there where I did, and they go with me, or somebody I could drop off on the way. You know, so it was good.
So you were able to travel when you were stateside, travel some distance.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as far as the globe goes, where all have you been with the Marine Corps?
Well, I got to see a lot, which was nice. You know, I'd never been, you know, a lot of places before the Marine Corps. I'd been like Illinois or, you know, Wisconsin from Iowa. After that, I was stationed in North Carolina. Then we go down around South America and the Caribbean when I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. So that was kind of fun. We went all the way down around parts of South America, down that far. Awesome places. Aruba is amazing. Okay, that's a Dutch Marine base. So it's kind of fun. We had Dutch Marines on our ship, so we got to stop at their base and drop them off. And Aruba is, if you ever want to go on vacation, that's the place to go.
I may have to learn more about that.
Yeah. And then I was stationed in Okinawa, and I didn't get to do any cruises over in Okinawa. I was pretty much on the island for the whole year. Wow. But it was a lot of fun. The Japanese culture is awesome. You know, it's a whole different life over there, and especially if you get off base and you kind of learn a little bit about the culture and the people. It's a lot of fun to experience those different things, because you never will the rest of your life.
That's right.
And after Okinawa, I came back and I was stationed at El Toro Air Base back before they closed it. So, Marine Corps Air Station, MCAS.
I'm reminded of the old saying, travel broadens the mind.
Yeah.
Seeing new cultures and new places and learning new things and going into it with an open mind. We can't help but grow and develop, I think.
Yeah, and people should experience. You need to appreciate it. I did. I knew what I was in. Okay, I had a good time while I was in, but also knew that I needed to appreciate it, because I may not get those chances again. So it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. You know, I was young, and what the heck.
So float number 3 was Okinawa?
No, that was where I was stationed. We did 3 all around South America and the Caribbean. Okay, so 2 of them were right around the Caribbean area.
Yep.
And then 1 went farther down south around South America.
Wow.
So it was a good time.
Incredible.
Yeah, so I never got to go to Europe. I always wanted to go on those, you know, but I never got to see Europe in the Marine Corps.
After third float, What's the deal now? How many years are you in? At what have you been picking up rank this whole time?
Yeah, when I left Camp Lejeune, I was Lance Corporal, and then I went to Okinawa. So you're constantly busy doing things. I mean,
Sure.
so I'd say it was in November of '78 was when I went over to Okinawa, and I was over there for a year. So that was a different experience.
So you've gone from private, first class, Lance Corporal, and I want to set something up here because this is truly something to be proud of and admired. Picking up the rank of corporal meritoriously. This is not something they hand out. This is hard earned.
It is. That's when you're considered an NCO, non-commissioned officer, which is, it's like being promoted maybe to foreman at your job at least.
Right.
Okay, and then you get your blood stripe. And
right.
That's always fun.
And it's true that the level of becoming a corporal, becoming a non-commissioned officer, the backbone of the Marine Corps, is a huge achievement all on its own.
Yeah.
But to do so meritoriously, where they say, you know what, you're already handling yourself on that level, and we're going to step you up. So congratulations on that, Gary. That is truly something to be proud of.
Yeah, I felt good about it, and it was because we learned to be good at our jobs and what we were doing. And I got to be, like, even when we went on these cruises and stuff, and I learned to be the embarkation NCO, even though I wasn't one. And so I had to put together all the supplies, get it all organized, make sure it all got on the ship, and for a young guy that's 19
Right, you were working a billet that was completely above your rank at that point.
It was a blast. It was fun, and it was easy. I mean, it wasn't that hard. You just organize it, and stuff it all on there, make sure it got on there, and you had it when you got there. And it was a lot of fun, and then I took a little pride in it. Yeah, it felt good to be a corporal. I wish I would have got sergeant before I got out, but being a corporal was a lot of fun. And then when you get promoted, you get your blood stripe.
Yep.
That's a painful few days.
It most certainly is.
Yeah, because most people don't know what that is.
No.
And, that's where you get you get when the Marines wear the blue uniform, and you get that red stripe down the leg.
NCO. Yep.
Except you also get an arm and a knee.
You earn it. That's right.
Yes.
You earn it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Again, congratulations on being a non-commissioned officer in the United States Marine Corps and picking that up meritoriously.
Thank you. Yeah, feels good. But you were one, so you know what it's like.
I know how hard it is to get there too.
Yeah.
So you're a corporal now. You've done a couple tours, a couple floats, and where's your mind at? Are you considering rejoining? Are you said they moved you to?
I went to Okinawa after that.
Okay,
and that's where I was corporal. Let's see, is that when I was corporal? 79. Yeah.
So you came back stateside after Okinawa.
Yep, and then I was at El Toro.
El Toro.
And the hard part is when I was leaving Okinawa, probably one of the biggest differences was when they took the hostages in Iran. And so I was actually had to stay on Okinawa for about an extra month because they didn't know what was going on over there. And that was a big change in everything, as far as history goes in our time. And we didn't know what was going on, and I thought, okay, what's going to happen here? Are we going to get called to do something? Carter was president. We didn't know what was going on. Then I get back to El Toro. Then they had Operation Eagle Claw, which was a disaster in the desert.
I'm not familiar with Eagle Claw.
They tried to have a rescue mission for the hostages, and a couple of choppers crashed into each other out in the desert outside in Iran. And that's when things were, things changed a lot then. And so I had to think about, do I want to be in this, where it's going?
Yep.
And I wasn't sure, at the time. I was back at El Toro. I'd done my 4 years.
Yep.
And I thought, do I want to stay in? Do I want to make a career of this, or am I ready to go? And for me, I just thought, I was ready to go. So it was, and I don't regret my time in.
Right.
Not a day of it. you know. But I just thought, okay, I could have stayed, but I just thought it was time to go.
I've made a commitment, I've filled that commitment, and a lot of us use military as a stepping stone. We go into it in saying, I'm going to learn discipline, I'm going to learn to set goals and achieve those goals. I'm going to be able to take advantage of the GI Bill when I get out. So a lot of us, you know, do decide to let's use this and try something else afterwards. Some of us get in and say, boy, I love this, and the skills I've learned here are going to be applicable to other Marines, and I, out of duty, I want to stay and help bring them up. And I don't think there's a wrong way to go with that.
It's a hard choice because, I mean, you could do, like when I went in, I was 17. I could have done 20 years, okay, done a career, got out when I was 37, you know, and still got on to another career after that. But I just decided, you know, it was my time, I was ready to go. You know, and it wasn't really the world events or the worrying about being involved in anything. It was just, it was my time to go.
Understood.
Yeah.
To go where?
I went back to Iowa, got my old job back at the grocery store, you know, started where I left off, basically. And went from there, worked for the old grocery store chain back there, ended up getting into the bakeries of the grocery store chain.
Had a little expertise in the area.
Yeah, so they found out I had experience. I went to do that. And then, you know, things were being different a little bit. I ended up moving out to Colorado after that. Jobs weren't as easy to come by back there at the time, and I just said, okay, it's time to move on. I was with a woman at the time. We eventually ended up being my wife. We moved out to Colorado where her mother lived, and that's how I got out to Colorado.
Going back to Iowa, same town, same job, not the same person?
Oh no, a lot different.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, we talked about how travel broadens the mind. Did your military service help shape your perspective of the world? Did it help you grow and develop? I mean, tell me what that was like going from Okinawa and Panama to, you know, middle Iowa.
Yeah, it was, you know, different when you're out after the Marine Corps. You know, especially when you first get out, you're really still a little bit unsure again. It's new life again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you know, you're not sure what you want to do. I went back to my old job, you know, but it wasn't what I was really wanting. And then I got into doing what I was doing for a job, which was still fine, but not what I wanted to do. And I was serious about things, but not as serious as I should have been. You know, I should have stuck with it and been more serious about things than I wasn't. I was still young, you know, and still doing crazy things. You know, I was only young 20s.
Yep.
Okay. And then I meet somebody, then there's the kids, you know, and you're still not stable. And so
my experience is I went back to my hometown after my experiences, and you know, so much of the town was the same, but I was not. And so I'm glad to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, you just want to do something different. It's not the same. You don't want to fall into the same place you were. And I can still see it there now after I've been gone from there for so many years. You know, and it's like, well, they're the same, but I've changed. It seems that way anyway.
Did to me.
Yeah, and it feels good to be that far away from where I grew up. I still call it home because that's where I grew up, really, and learned things. But I appreciate where I'm at now so much more.
And you are in the lovely and beautiful Marble, Colorado.
Yeah.
That's where you're at now. How'd you end up in Marble? Because it's a little, again, I'll say it, the town is beautiful and lovely, and it's a little off the beaten path.
Yeah, it is. It's back, you know, even from the highway, from Highway 133, you know, we're 6 miles back off the highway.
Yep.
And, you know, it's a very small town, less than 100 people. And was actually working as a bakery manager for City Market, of all places, and living in Marble. And then they were starting the Marble Quarry, and the man doing the hiring there asked me if I'd like to come work at the quarry. And so I just changed careers on a whim.
Wow.
So
Probably, again, unsure and a little scary on what it's going to be
Very
like to
much.
go work into a mine.
yeah,
And I want to put something else up here. This is the Colorado Yule Marble Quarry, and this is a phenomenal DVD. And Gary, your expertise in marble mining and the years of experience and knowledge you've gained, you're featured on this film.
yeah. I give a lot of instruction, and like they call it the final tour. A walk through the quarry, which is and explaining everything. And I like my job a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's an unusual job.
Incredibly unusual.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
Yeah.
The river running right. I mean, it's.
We're in God's country.
It truly is incredible up there.
And I work in the mountains. Inside the mountains, not just in the mountains, but in the mountains. So it's very different, and it's almost like surreal. It's almost like a movie set, and every day feels the same, like that.
Not only is it incredibly beautiful and interesting, but you guys have done some beautiful and interesting things out of that mine too.
Yeah.
You want to tell me some of the marble that you helped quarry and bring out has been used in some of the nation's most historic monuments?
Right. Back in history, from this mine was the marble for the Lincoln Memorial. The Tomb of the Unknowns is from that. Many of the headstones in Arlington actually came from our quarry. We had a contract. That was our main business from 1990 until 2004, was providing stones for companies that made the headstones for national cemeteries.
Wow.
So, it's pretty awesome, to know that it's a big part of that.
It's got to be a big honor.
It is. Yeah.
It's some of the most beautiful white marble,
Yeah.
and I think it was specifically selected because of that.
Yes, it's actually, some of the best. And at one time, there was another company that made marble for the headstones, just like ours, but ours was actually better. A lot more white color to it. It definitely is pretty when you see it, and especially when you look in those rows. It's not good to know what Arlington's for, but when you look at those stones, they mean so much.
Yep.
So we took a lot of pride in making those, and I actually went down to a company down in Columbus, Mississippi, that actually made those headstones, and watched them being made, with the names etched into them, and that means a lot to you when you made that, and then you see that, and you know that that's a soldier right there. So it's really important to see it from beginning to end like that, and where it goes.
Some of the most visited monuments in D.C. are Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, or Tomb of the Unknown. We have to represent all those that we've lost and not been able to identify, and they do the changing of the guard there,
Right.
which I think over 4 million people a year go and watch this, because it's incredible what they do, the honor and the way that we honor our fallen.
Right. And those guys that guard that, they call them the Old Guard.
The Old Guard.
They're very,
Old 3rd
very
Infantry
special.
Regiment. That's right.
Yeah, very special men. And even during the last hurricane that hit Washington, those guys didn't abandon their posts. They still walked their posts.
That's right.
During the hurricane.
They actually got orders and they said, no, we gotta stay in guard.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful what they do. They take 21 steps.
Yes.
Stop for 21 seconds, all in the same tradition as the 21 gun salute. It's one of the nation's highest military honors.
Right.
And everything they do is so calculated.
Yeah.
And it's truly incredible, the honor bestowed on those that have given so much for this country.
So I feel a lot, very close to that. Being in the Marine Corps, you know, and being associated with those type of things, you know, gives you a lot of pride, you know, because I know what it means. You know, a lot of the guys that I work with, they never served in the military,
Right.
so they don't really have that understanding or that feeling for what this really means. So,
Right.
and it's very important. And now, I work with a few veterans now, and so, you know, it's very important, and we all take it, you know, as serious as we can. So it's kind of nice.
beautiful.
Even though they aren't Marines, they're still okay. So.
That's beautiful. Thank you for working to hire veterans, and because I think it's, you know, the nation has a level of understanding and a level of compassion, some more than others, but when you've signed the oath and you've, you know, sworn the duty,
Right.
you know, you've got a little better understanding.
You do. You understand the sacrifice it really takes to, you know, to let us do what we do now.
Yep.
Because we can appreciate the freedoms we have. We know what it takes. And it's important, you know, and it's nice to see that continue. So it's nice to meet other younger Marines. I've got actually 2 now on our staff that are younger Marines. And so it's kind of nice to see the young guys too, and to see if they're still the same, you know.
So all these years ago, when you were stationed on the East Coast and Staff Sergeant threw you guys in a pickup van and took you to D.C., took you to Washington, did you ever, I mean, it's tough to predict back then that you'd have a hand
No.
and
Never,
and
never
some of
even
the
pictured
largest
it.
monuments in?
No, never even thought about it.
Could have dreamt it, huh?
Never thought, but you know, all things happen for a reason.
Yep,
You know, there's things that are just meant to be.
truly.
And you know, when you look back at your life, you understand those type things. So it's weird because you don't think about it then,
Right.
but you understand why later sometimes. You hope you do anyway. So it's kind of nice. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I've gotten a chance to see the Marble video and get a fairly close look of Marble. The mine's up and running again now,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah, we've actually been running, I think we're on our 6th owner since we reopened in
Changing a lot of
1990.
hands.
Yeah, it does change because it's a mining job, and it runs a lot like construction. So it runs like the construction industry does. There's ups and downs, a very fine line between making it and profit. And right now we're owned by an Italian company. They have a lot of expertise in what they do. They have they can get the best material or the best equipment to do the job. And we've just started some new development that we're hoping actually will provide jobs where we're working for our grandchildren's grandchildren. We're thinking that far ahead.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of marble left to be mined up there, is that?
Yeah, probably quite a few hundred years,
Wow.
which is amazing. And I think we're into our new development, I think is probably our best material that we've ever had in the
Really?
quarry. And it's
How
been
exciting.
Yeah, and it's been open for years and years. And our newest material is the best we ever had. And so yeah, it's very good. We feel very good about it because it's been a dream that I never thought we'd get to until I retired. So we're a couple years earlier than that, so it makes it kind of nice.
One of the interesting things in the drive up to Marble is going through the Crystal River there and seeing these, I mean, large chunks of marble on the side of the river.
Yeah.
How'd they get there?
Well, they had a railroad bed that ran from, you know, the mill in Marble down to Carbondale. Well, along the banks of that, they would sometimes dump the marble, sometimes to help shore up the river banks so it wouldn't wash out, and sometimes just to get rid of the marble.
Wow, it's just big chunks
Yeah.
of beautiful marble.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of cool to see. You know, it's definitely different. So it looks like a lot of snow. A lot of people think a lot of it's just snow, but it's not. So it's kind of cool.
And how long have you been living in Marble now?
I've lived in Marble for about 25 years.
Wow.
So it's a very different type of place, you know, and I like it a lot. You know, I'm getting older and the snow's not as much fun, but, you know, still it's a good time. And You know, I guess it's more of a place for me. I'm kind of more of a loner, not really loner, but more of a recluse. I don't mind being, you know, without a lot of people around.
Sure.
So it's a lot of fun.
Well, when you're in the heart of nature, which, I mean, it's just surrounded by such majestic beauty.
Yeah.
I can see how settling in a place like that wouldn't be.
Right. Yeah, it's quite nice. I mean, every day, I appreciate every single day, every sunrise. And when I wake up and I see the views, and about anywhere in this valley, I'm sure almost everyone feels the same. But you know, it's pretty awesome. Get out there with a cup of coffee on Saturday morning and watch the sunrise. You know, and it gets you that much closer. So it makes it nice. So yeah, I appreciate it here.
Gary, I appreciate your service, sir.
And I appreciate yours.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And the service that you still provide in hiring young veterans and mentoring them. You know, there's a lot of different ways to help serve the country, including serving those that have served the country.
Right.
And you're in a unique situation that you've done both. And truth is, a lot of our servicemen need some help coming home in a lot of different ways, whether that be someone saying, you know what, I'm willing to teach you a skill or a trade, or I could use an extra hand here, I have these resources. There's a lot of different ways to serve the country. There's a lot of different ways to serve those that have served. And I want to take a quick minute to point out Purple Star veterans and families, and you know, what we're trying to do to help prepare this nation's young men and women in coming home, and help preparing them to come into the workforce and college and school, and to take advantage of all the wonderful things this country has.
Yeah, they need the guidance, you know, because a lot of them might think that they know what they want to do a lot of times, but a lot of them just need that extra reassurance.
The truth is, for me, I was a pretty good Marine, but by no innate ability, because I had good Marines that showed me the ropes.
Right.
And we need a little bit more help, a little more guidance in transitioning from combat to college or combat to community. And thank you for playing such a part in that.
Okay.
I wanted to present to you, Gary, this pin for the Veterans History Project. Really cannot thank you enough for your time and coming down here and sharing your story with us. You know, it's important that we do so.
It is, and I hope that, you know, all veterans in the area, you know, would take the time to do this to help others, and they should.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And in closing, I want to again say that the Roaring Fork Veterans History Project exists to capture the personal stories of veterans of all wars, especially those veterans whose stories may soon be lost. To support this important community project, please contact Colonel Dick Merritt, United States Marine Corps. You can call him at 970-927-5178. Again, that number is 970-927-5178. or you can email him at merritt1@q.com.